Let's see. We got Cliff and Wayne,
Yeah, it
Sarah,
is.
Splat, John, Sheila, Nephi. You found your microphone?
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right. Good to see you. And Sheila, you're back home. I hope you had a good trip and good, good. Hey, John, Joe, Dennis, good to see you guys.
Good morning.
Man, let's see here. A couple announcements to get us started. First of all, for those who will be not watching this live, where this is being, we do this live in our VoFlow voiceover community every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Central. But if you're watching via social media right now and you want to catch it live, just join the community. It's free. And you will find us at school.com, SKOOL.com/VOFlow. Also, another announcement training coming up this Thursday night. We're talking about audio, why it's important to get it to sound as good as you can, but it's not more important than doing the work that once you get the audio done, you got to focus on the marketing. So this is kind of a dual track training where it's like, okay, you need to do this, but don't spend all your time doing this. Make sure that you get it right, and then you get into your VO flow, get into your marketing and do it, and keep working it and keep working it. So love to see you there for Thursday night. And I'll put and again, for those of you guys on social media, I'll put a link, excuse me, a link below in the description. And you guys here can just find it here in the community. So today we're going to talk about managing information, everybody's favorite topic when it comes to voiceover. I'm sure it was the first thing that popped into your head when you thought about recording voiceovers. I really want to learn how to manage my information well. Well, what you found out quickly after getting behind a microphone, that was a lot more than just being behind a microphone. It's about running a business. And one of the big challenges we have as business people is tracking information and, conversations with our, have you ever wanted there was something maybe a client had said or mentioned, and you wanted to make sure you brought it up again in a conversation or follow up. You couldn't find it. Keeping track of that information is critical, whether it's in email, or maybe they said it to you during a session and you need to capture that information. And have you ever written that down? Maybe lost notes, or you're like me, you're getting older and you're losing your memory. It becomes harder and harder to hold on to those things. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone what a client said to me, last week. But the importance of that is perhaps more than you realize, or more than you've given thought to. And what you're looking for anytime you have an interaction with a client is you want to develop a relationship. And I know it's a tricky thing, because you really have to let the client lead the way. What we don't want to do is overstep our bounds. And they're there to get a job done. They have a business outcome that they've hired us to do. And so we have to be careful how we manage that and really let them lead the way. But what we're looking for are points of contact, something that helps us continue the conversation even outside of the voiceover work that we do. And let me illustrate that a little bit and talk to you about some real life experiences. Um, I have a client. Well, I've a lot of clients, and occasionally they'll begin to share personal information. And when I say personal information, I'm thinking things like they'll mention, "Hey, oh, I see you're in Illinois. I grew up just down the street. I had a guy the other day, had a recording session, and he was in Kentucky, and he said, 'Where do you live?' And I said, 'I live in a little village called Bourbonnais, just south of Chicago.' And he said, 'Oh, it's near Kankakee.' And I said, 'How'd you know that?' And he said, 'Yeah, well, I grew up just up the street from where.'" Those are little touch points. It's an opportunity to turn a stranger more into a friend. So keep your ears open, when you're reading your email or you're having a conversation. Listen for things. I had another client for years, and I consider him a friend, and I think he considers me one as well, because over these years, we used to do like a live session every month. He would tell me about his daughter going to college, about upcoming vacations he was going on. Could be anything. And again, I let him lead that conversation. So this is information he was sharing. So we just began to, those became points of contact that we would talk about when we'd have a conversation, which helped morph it from just a business interaction into a personal interaction. The importance of that is when somebody develops more of an emotional connection. When we have friends, we remember our friends. We remember what our friends say more than the people that we casually come into contact. So anytime that you hear, well, it could be a birthday, it could be an anniversary, it could be a favorite sports team, it could be anything. And if you haven't come across that yet, you will, especially as you have live sessions. That's where these things really start to pop up because people like to make small talk. They like to have conversation. When you make a note of that in your VO flow, make a note of that information. It's important not to put this like on a sticky note someplace or like I used to do, put it on a legal pad and put it someplace because those things, that information gets lost. But when you can track, like within VioFlow, you guys, in case you weren't aware, you can easily track all of your email conversations in the contact record. It will bring all that up. It'll bring the notes that you make about the client. So be listening for those opportunities, make notes of them, and make sure that you find ways when you can, where it's natural to do so, to bring those things up. It lets them know that, don't you feel good when somebody remembers something that you tell them and then they ask you about it later? Yeah, it makes me feel good. Even if I know this person is a salesperson or they're trying, it's a business person, it still makes me feel good to know that they remembered that or they made note of that. It was important enough for them to remember that. And sometimes it's not even just personal information. It could be business information like the specs of the audio. Like this might be somebody who prefers WAV files and 48,000 hertz and 24 bits, or they might prefer MP3s at 192 kilobits. I mean, it could, or bits or bytes or whatever that is. Whatever it is, if you make a note of those things, it will help you to be more consistent in the way that you interact and in your deliveries. Clients like to know that you care about those things. Perhaps billing preferences. I have some clients that want to be billed per job, some that want to be billed monthly, and I don't have to keep going back, doing it wrong, or going back and re-asking. But by having that information and doing those things makes you look like a professional, and it makes you look like you care. Another really cool outcome of that is getting referrals. And when people remember you, one of the coolest things that has happened to me over the course of my career are those moments, and they don't happen all the time, but occasionally when somebody says, I was referred to you by somebody. And two of maybe the biggest jobs I've ever done, like Disney, MetLife, those weren't auditions. That's where somebody just knew somebody who mentioned to them, said, you should you should work with this guy for whatever reason. And they did. And I attribute that in large part by trying to do my best to make a connection with everybody that I work with. Again, I don't push that on people, but if they offer up any kind of information, like this guy who knew where I lived, this little village that I live in, because he grew up here, I'll remember that. When we talk again, you better believe I'm going to bring it up again because it's a point of contact. Sometimes it's business contact information, like I mentioned earlier. It could be specs on audio or the way they like to be billed. Sometimes it's personal, but when you do, it makes you look. They appreciate you as a person and they appreciate you as a business person. So the three things, like three bullet points to remember. Listen. Number one, always be listening, whether it's when you're reading an email, keep your eyes open, for what they have to say. When you're having a conversation, doing a session with somebody, listen. And anything that you hear that might be a point of a personal connection, make a note of it and then use it. When you talk to them, ask them, how did you enjoy your vacation? Did your daughter get off to college okay? How did that go? I remember when my daughter went to college. I mean, that was tough when my kids left home and went to school. Those kind of personal points of conversation. When you do that, it makes you memorable. And that might be the biggest challenge that we have as business people, is to be memorable. That's the thing that we fight for. That's why we're marketers. That's why we use VO Flow, because we want to get in front of people and create awareness. And after we do that, we want them to remember us. And when they do, it makes work more fun because you've got a new friend. And it makes it more fun because they remember you, and it makes it more likely that they'll continue to come back and use you, because people prefer to work with their friends than they prefer to work with their strangers. So it all goes back to managing information and tracking that. So just make it a part of your routine whenever you're communicating with a prospective client or a client, whether it be in a live session and that kind of a scenario, or email. Just make those notes and find, very casual ways to bring them up in conversation. And it will make a difference. Your work will be more fun and you'll get more of it, which is what it's all about. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment, Bill. So
Yeah,
interesting.
Cliff.
I got a response back from somebody from the Netherlands. and I was looking in my emails for them. I couldn't find them. And just now looked at the VoFlow and said, oh, it's this other person that I sent the email to. So I using that tool now because he told me where to go at to register. And he said he listened to my
Yeah.
demos, which was really great. And I love the tracking because somebody else looked at my website 2 hours ago. So
Oh,
this VO,
nice.
yeah, this VoFlow thing is really awesome, man. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, good. I love to hear that. I woke up this morning and saw somebody from who works at Walmart was on my website, which is exciting. I thought, oh, you never know what might come from
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, because Walmart was one of those things you did way back.
That's right. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
and I've actually done a lot of work for Walmart over the years, but it's been internal stuff.
So I do have a question. Are you doing any marketing through Instagram at all? I'm not Instagram. LinkedIn? Are you doing anything with LinkedIn yourself?
I'm not currently. I have in the past, and I'm hesitant. Well, I was going to say, I really nothing really came of it, but that's not necessarily because of the platform. That's on me. It was something I dabbled. I didn't really systematically approach it. I think it's a great platform. And
Oh,
what I'm doing now is, of course, like, now that I can, oftentimes there are, within VioFlow, we'll be able to see what their LinkedIn, have a link to their LinkedIn profile. So I'm now utilizing that, making reference to that, or to gain a little more insight and information to see if I can find a better point of contact through that. So in that way, I'm using it, but I haven't been using it directly. Does that
right.
answer the
That's
question
a
you were
great
saying?
answer.
Okay.
I was using LinkedIn pretty hard and heavy just as a background, kind of getting people familiar with who I was, although
Yeah.
not making any direct connections with anybody to get any jobs. But then VoFlow came along, so I rotated into that, and so I've not been, it was one of those things where I've not been putting a lot of attention into LinkedIn because
Right.
VoFlow is getting me actual results.
Well, I think it's really powerful when you can integrate information from their social media, specifically LinkedIn, and be able to integrate that into your marketing through, VioFlow. And
Mhm.
at least that's a great place to start. One of the things that I think it's okay if I mention this. I was talking to Chris yesterday, and of course, Chris is always researching what's going on. And one of the things that we're looking at, he may have mentioned this and posted this in school yesterday. We're looking at the possibility of integrating with you being able to integrate social media marketing into VioFlow and being able to drive traffic from social media to your stuff so you can capture that information in the CRM within VioFlow. So there's some integrations that can be done with social media to do that. Again, just trying to, it's all about having as many good channels as we can, to bring information into the system so that we can, capture that and cultivate them into clients. And again, we just talked about it for the first time yesterday. So this is something we're working on. So we'll let you know when everything's kind of worked out on that. But always looking for a way to get more clients. Where are they? It starts with, where are my clients? Where do they hang out? And how can I get in front of them? That's what it's all about. So we'll continue to look for those ways and again, bring all that stuff into your VioFlow account so you can work those leads.
I did have, one cold lead I made yesterday, and within about 2 minutes of sending out the cold lead, he hit my website, and then about 2 minutes later, he sent me an email asking me to do a script that he's going to use to plug into their, roster. So, that
Oh,
was
no
kind of
kidding.
exciting. I could see that thing pop up in the corner, and I thought,
Yeah.
"Uh-huh, okay." Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, on the other side, I saw my email thing get a little red dot on it. I thought, "Okay, let's go find out what's going on."
Every time that had a little pop up or a ding, it's like the dopamine just goes, whoa. Yeah, it is exciting. It's very exciting. It's so nice to be able, we used to live in that dark tunnel between email going out and getting an email back, but it's so nice now to know what's going on.
One to add one other thing, Bill, you
Yeah.
talked about far as connecting with your clients. I remember
Yeah.
in the early days of your directed session, I was, you allow us to tune in,
Yeah.
and, and that was my time of wondering how you're going to relate to the client. And when the studio engineer got on, you was like relating how things going, blah 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 blah. Then when
Yeah.
the client came on, they were like, "Hey, Bill," and I'm going like, "Wow, he's like really making a connection with these people outside of the job." That, and so I concur, you were right about connecting with your clients, and they are, they welcome you and they make you feel warm. and welcomed in in the session itself, which is great.
Yeah, and Cliff, and I wish it was that way with all my clients. Not everybody's different, and some guys, some people are just they're more business, and that's fine. That's great. We'll do that. But if I see a little crack in there, there's a little something that we can talk about. I'll bring it up, and there's nothing more fun than having a session, and this happens to me a lot, where I just feel like they're friends because some of these guys I've worked with for years. So and after a while, you do just get to know them, and maybe we'll be able to do some more of those sessions too. Some live. Would you? Is that something you guys would be interested in? If I can record a live session and share it, would it be helpful? Okay. I
I
know what
I would I would
Sheila.
love that.
Okay.
Be
Yeah.
um, One of the things that when I really started forging ahead in VO, it just became really important to me to build a community
Yeah.
with people and build relationships, community, and especially after COVID. And that's what I love about this right here, because this is, a community that I'm getting to know people. We chat
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
school, and I love that. And so I understand what you mean about, a lot of people say that voiceover, what's important too is building relationships. It's a relationship
Yes.
building, business. And I see that more and more every day.
Don't you like it when you walk into a business and somebody, like maybe it's a restaurant, and they go, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming back," or like, and I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but my wife and I,
Yeah.
we have a little breakfast place here that we go to. It's our tradition on Friday mornings. We go there like every Friday morning. And now, like all the servers, they know us when we come in. It's like, oh yeah, we thought you guys would be in. Or we're going to see you again later this weekend. And, little, and that's silly. It seems like silly little stuff. But there's when we go in there and they actually recognize us and act like they're happy we're there. That makes me want to go back there.
Yeah, that's
As silly
life.
as that may seem.
That's part of life.
What's that, Hope?
I said that's just a nice part of life and being humans
It
all at the
is.
same time.
Right, yeah, we all wanna have we wanna, have those connections. Back to the live stuff, when I first started this group, I posted a live session and nobody commented on it, and I thought, well, maybe they don't care to see that, but it might have just been because it was early on and people just didn't see. Could be nobody saw it. I don't know. I don't even remember what the session was, but I'll try to record some of those, find some sessions that I think might be helpful to watch. And we'll see if I can make any personal connections, points of connection in those sessions. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the client. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Every weekday morning we do this, and I love to see our little group grow. It's always fun to see your faces here. It's getting together with friends, which gets my day off on the right foot. I hope it does yours too. All right, guys. We'll see you a little later. All right. Bye bye.